Welcome to another photo critique. Today I'm going to take 11 images that you sent to the email that's right here in the video description, and I'm going to give you some tips and pointers and see if we can help you create better looking images and hopefully something that would sell in stock photography. Keep in mind, sending images for a review is not the easiest thing out there. Nobody likes to be criticized, but I'm doing this in a way that I can help you understand a little bit more about not just stock photography, but photography in general. So let's start with the first image. Let me look at the camera settings here. This was shot at 1/250th of a second, f2.8, ISO 200. Great camera settings. I usually like a little bit more than 2.8 so you can get a little bit more detail. But these olives are in the same plane, so that's perfect camera settings for these. ISO 200, that's to avoid movement. 250 of a second, that's perfect. As far as composition, even though it's in the middle, the negative space, the image looks beautiful. I like the olive branch with the olives in the background. To me, that's a very well done image. Beautiful shot. So 5 out of 5 in the camera settings. 5 out of 5 when it comes to composition. It's very well situated, even though it's right in the middle. For stock, let's go 4 out of 5. For stock, I would have put the 3 olives more on the upper corner, giving it a little bit more of a blur, so you could add text or anything else you'd like to add. So 4 out of 5 in composition. As far as the processing, the photo looks beautiful. I don't see any mistakes here in the processing. Very dark, rich color, very dark tones. It looks beautiful. So 5 out of 5 when it comes to processing. And as far as commercial value, well, I'm going to say 4 out of 5, because even though it's a beautiful shot, 3 out of 5, even though it's a beautiful shot, it's very specific to olives. It doesn't really have a concept. They're olives growing on the tree. It doesn't have that usage that you would want. Yes, for an olive farm, for anybody selling olive oil or extra virgin olive oil, this would be perfect. But it's very limited because we don't have a concept with it. Maybe if you had like pickle in the olives, that would be another level, and it would be a more sellable image. But as far as a photograph, this is beautiful. Great job. Next photo. This next image, let's look here at the camera settings. It's a macro. It looks beautiful. It's just very simple. The tones, it's a very pretty photo. Let me see where. Okay, as far as camera settings, 1/2000 of a second, f2.8, ISO 640. In this case, I'm gonna say camera settings 3 out of 5. ISO is way too high, and that shutter speed doesn't have to be that fast. Unless you're in a really windy situation, you don't need 2000 of a second. So 3 out of 5 in the camera settings. As far as composition, it's right in the middle. Maybe a little bit of a closer zoom like this would be a little bit preferred, because it's not really like a stock photo. It's more of an artistic image, and there's a little bit of distraction in the back. When you're going for simple or simplistic images, try to make it as simple as possible. And in this case, focusing on the leaves, on the green, that one dried leaf that looks like a ring, that's where the focus is at. That would be perfect if we eliminate some of these other bright elements in the background. So as far as composition, I'm gonna say 3 out of 5 as well. This thing here on the left is a little bit distracting, and so is the highlights in the background. And that's easily removed or painted over with Lightroom. So 3 out of 5 in composition. As far as the edit, again, 4 out of 5, because that could be tweaked and just removed, or just darkened a little bit. Use the burn brush and just darken it so it is not as distracting. And as far as commercial value, this one I'm gonna say 2 out of 5, because there really isn't. If you have a sharp, crisp image, I always say there's always a chance you're gonna sell it. The potential here, unless it's a very specific plant, is pretty low in my opinion. But great job with the photo. Just a couple of tweaks in the camera settings, composition, and a little bit in the processing, and I think that would be a beautiful hang in the wall kind of picture. Next, this looks like a computer thingy here, technology. It's a Mac. It looks beautiful. I mean, I think it's a Mac. It looks awesome. Let's look at the camera settings. 0.6 of a second, f8, ISO 100. As far as camera settings, I'm gonna say 5 out of 5. Macro like this is beautiful. You need an f8 so you can read the whole word enter, and then the rest is blur. Macros are beautiful images. As far as composition, I'm gonna say 5 out of 5 as well, because the enter is right at the bottom. and the lines are leading right to the corner, so it's a very well composed and set up image. As far as an edit, same thing, 4 out of 5 because there's some dust. I know it takes a long time, but if you get the circle tool in Lightroom and the Band-Aid tool and remove some of this dust, I think it will give you a much cleaner image. And I know it's a pain, but it can be done. I'm gonna say 4 out of 5 because it is very clean and it looks beautiful. And then as far as commercial value, I'm gonna say 4 out of 5 because you are missing a little bit of a concept. It's technology, it's a computer, enter is in focus, and it's on the lower third. That's beautiful. But this thing's been done before. It's been done a lot, and then does need a little bit of a concept. I'm not sure exactly what it is. Maybe a finger pushing enter, adding a human element would help. But great job with this photo. I think it is beautiful. Awesome. All right, the next photo, another macro. This is more technology. This looks great shot. Let's look at the camera settings. 1/10 of a second f8, ISO 100 with a 50mm 1.7. So again, camera settings 5 out of 5. I like the f8. You can see when you're close like this at f8, it blurs the background. To blur backgrounds, the distance between the camera and your subject is one of the main things, and then the distance between your subject and the background is this secondary thing. But this is beautiful. He did a fantastic job. The concept, the technology, the USBCs, this is what everything is going for. This is a very good stock photo. When it comes to composition, I want to say it's right in the middle, even though it's here. I would like to see a little bit more, or what's on the left or the right, if we move the white so everything is the same color. So camera settings, I don't know if I said it, 5 out of 5. Composition, I'm going to say 3 out of 5. Because I don't like it right in the middle. You need a little bit of text space. So if we move it and move the white thing so it's not distracting to the other side, then you would have the phone and with the USB-C. When it comes to the edit, it looks beautiful. The only thing I would remove is this highlight here, the bright thing in the reflection, to make it a little bit cleaner and more simple, because your eyes are always going to go to the brightest thing in the photo, and it's this thing that's distracting in the corner. Great job when it comes, so what did I say? The edit, I'm gonna say 4 out of 5 because it's just one thing, and 3 out of 5 because again, there's some dust, there's some things that could be cleaned up to make it look a little bit more professional, but you're doing an awesome job here. As far as commercial value, awesome. This is 4 out of 5 because you could fix the composition and remove this white thing to the other side so it doesn't distract. So 4 out of 5 because things like this is great, especially when the news came out that new phones and everything's going to have a standard USB-C. Images like these are going to be needed. So awesome job. Let's move on to the next one. All right, the next photo, I got a feeling this is from a long time ago, then I finally got to it. It's from a cell phone. 1/80th of a second, f1.8, ISO 103. I never heard of an ISO 103, and it explains it when it's a cell phone. So in this case, I'm gonna say camera settings, they're a little bit underexposed. So I'm gonna say 4 out of 5. If you could overexpose it so the background looks brighter and then isolate the subject completely front camera, it would be a lot better. So 4 out of 5 in the camera settings. When it comes to composition, it's supposed to be an object on a white background. It doesn't matter if it's in the middle or not, so in this case it's perfect. I'm gonna say 5 out of 5. It could be a little bit closer, but it's very difficult with cell phones, so 5 out of 5 when it comes to composition. When it comes to the edit, the background could be erased, could be brought up a little bit, the highlights. I'm gonna say 4 out of 5. And when it comes to commercial value, I'm gonna say it's very low because it's an object, it's a jar. Let's say 2 out of 5 because I don't even know how this photo would be used. It really doesn't have a concept, and I don't even know what this is. So you need to take photos that tell you what the image is so that you can sell it and people can find a way to use it. This photo is not going to get accepted. When you zoom in, you see little, this is cell phone, typical cell phone, and it just over sharpened and a lack of detail. So it's not going to get accepted. It's not going to make it for stock. You're doing very well when it comes to your camera. You just need an upgrade as soon as you can. But great job. Let's move on to the next photo. All right, the next photo, this looks like sliced carrots. Cool. I like the composition. I like it. It looks good. Okay, the camera settings. This is 1/105 of a second. aperture 1.8 and ISO 103. So this is that cell phone again. Camera settings, again, is a little bit dark, so I'm gonna say 4 out of 5. Composition's on point. I like it on the corner with the white background. So that is 5 out of 5 in the composition. When we're talking about the edit, the white could be lifted so it's more on a white background. You want the text area to be completely white and not the other side. So 3 out of 5. And then also look at how, because it's a cell phone image, you can see the lack of texture in the carrot. It looks like a painting almost, and that is 100% the phone adding this clarity or texture or something. So again, you're doing great. You just need a little bit of a better camera to make it in stock. When it comes to commercial value, it's a very simple photo. I'm gonna say 3 out of 5. If it was completely isolated, if the carrot had texture, you might have a chance, but it's not something that's gonna sell hundreds of times. But you're doing good. Just again, try to upgrade whenever you can. Next. The next photo, there's a pile of rocks and they all have different colors. Okay, let's look at camera settings. 103 is again another cell phone, same cell phone, and 1.8, 1/125th of a second. In this case, I'm gonna say 4 out of 5 because the background is still a little bit dark. If you overexpose, use exposure compensation, you can slide your finger up on the phone to get that up a little bit, then it will give you a brighter background. But great job on this one. When it comes to the composition, there's a B on my camera, so I hope you can see me and I'm not too blurry. He's right in the middle. When it comes to the composition, I'm going to say 5 out of 5. I like it on the third. The rocks are leading that way, so you did a great job. When it comes to the edits, again, the background could be erased, could be bring the highlights up a little bit so you can see more of a pure white background, and that usually helps when it comes to the commercial value. So I'm gonna say 4 out of 5. If you just brighten up the image, brighten up the background without affecting the rocks, then that will give you a much stronger image. 4 out of 5 on the edit. And when it comes to commercial value, again, 2 to 3 out of 5 because it is very simple. It's lacking the newsworthy commercial image. It could sell, but I don't think, and I've been wrong before, but I just don't think it would sell hundreds of times. It might sell a few times here and there. So I'm gonna put the sellability on the lower range, like 2 or 3 out of 5, maybe 2 out of 5. For this photo, if these rocks were like just plain river rocks, I think it would have a better concept because it's more like a zen, like a mental stability, mental health thing, more of a relaxation. But because you're adding the colors, unless these colors have to do with like a soccer team or a national theme or something, then which I'm not seeing. It could be, maybe I'm just not seeing it. But plain rocks, plain river rocks stacked like this would give you a little bit more of a meditation feel, and then that would be your concept. Great job. Now let's go on to the next photo. All of a sudden I'm a little bit thirsty. Let's see, this is Canon Rebel T6, 1/160th of a second, f11 ISO 100. Beautiful shot. The bottle looks great. In this case, camera settings, I'm going to say 5 out of 5. I love that. The f11 gives you really good detail, and ISO 100 is perfect. When it comes to composition, if you're doing a product, if you're featuring like this, I'm going to say 4 out of 5 because it's not completely centered. There's not enough space to leave a negative for text or anything. But if you look at the stool or the little thing that it's sitting on, there's almost no room on the right and there's a lot more on the left. So if you were to just center it, I think it would give you a much stronger, this is your product, this is it, the Jack Daniels. The edit, I'm also gonna say 4 out of 5 because of this highlights. This could be removed. It could be edited out in Lightroom or Photoshop. It's a little bit distracting because again, your eye is gonna go to the bright part of the image. And in this case is these glow on the edge of the glass. It looks good, but it's a little bit too bright. So if you just remove it or bring it down a little bit, especially here on the neck, you can see how bright it is. Then that would help you with the overall image. 4 out of 5 on the edit. As far as commercial value, I don't know if I explained this on the previous video. Commercial value is something that's gonna change. A couple of years ago, I don't know if you remember that what's the red whiskey? Maker's Mark with the red label on it, with the red wax thing. One of their warehouses burned up and went in flames. If you had a picture like this with maker's mark, I think he would have sold a lot of photos. So something like this, at any moment, it could be really good, really high, good commercial value, and other points it might not. So I'm gonna say 3 out of 5 is very specific, very brand specific. It would have to be an illustrative editorial image, but if the image is clear, I say put it up there. You might have a very good chance of selling the photo. So 3 out of 5 commercial value, great image. Just pay attention to the highlight things, the bright spots in the image, and your composition, but you're doing awesome. Next. All right, here's another photo. This is, let's look at a sock, a Nike sock with, what is that? That's like a patch. Interesting. Camera settings, ISO 400 f/5.6, 1/640th of a second. Camera settings, I'm gonna say 3 out of 5 because there's many things here that could change. The ISO is way too high, 6/40th of a second is way too fast, even if you're hand holding, especially at 208 millimeters. Yeah, that's kind of zoomed in. But 5.6 could also change so that at least the toe is in focus or the dry fit here on the Nike sock. This would have to be an illustrative editorial because you got a logo and you got all these other things here. As far as composition, when it's right in the middle like this and you're going with something that has length, I think it would improve by putting the foot sideways because then more of it will be in focus. Right now, you don't even have the Nike swoosh in focus. It focuses right here in the middle where that patch is. I don't know if that's what you were going for, but the logos, the name brand, the product shot is, you want that to be in focus. So in this case, what did I say? Composition, I'm gonna say 3 out of 5. It's right in the middle. If you're trying to sell this for stock, I think it would be very difficult with this composition. Now, talking about the edit, it looks fine. It might need a little bit of noise reduction because it's ISO 400. It's a very small file, so I can't really zoom in. It looks fine. There's some things here in the floor that could be cleaned up, so it looks cleaner and more professional. So I'm going to say 3 out of 5 in the edit. There's some the strands here. Yeah, 3 out of 5 in the edit because the floor could be cleaned up. It could be a little bit brighter in the background. And this sock has different colors, which is kind of strange. So if it's a product shot, I don't know. It's hit or miss. This one looks well worn and used, so I don't think it's a brand new product shoot. So maybe that's your concept. I'm not sure. I don't have a description or a caption to go with it. But if that's what you were going for, then you're doing good. I just don't have that information here. When it comes to the sellability, this is very low. I'm gonna say 2 out of 5. I don't have a full size image, so I don't know if it's even gonna get accepted. I can't zoom in and look at the detail. But something like this, the focus is wrong, composition is wrong for stock. I don't think it would be a very good seller because it's missing those key points. But good job. It's looking pretty good. Just pay attention to your camera settings and your composition. And if you're doing a product shoot, focus on the logos and the names because you want that to be your selling point. Next. I think I remember talking to the photographer about this one. This was a blend of images. So he did the model and then placed the model here in the area. And this was done about 30 years ago, if not longer. I don't remember. I'll go back to the email and pop it here on the screen when this photo was done. It was amazing that you could do this back then. But the photo is pretty good. If anything, the white balance doesn't match the model, but that's different. Let's go back to the camera settings. I don't have the camera settings. It says unknown camera, unknown lens. I don't have anything. By zooming in, it's a small file, but you can see that it matches perfectly. So if it was a wide angle, that's why everything is sharp, everything's in focus. Camera settings, even though I don't have them, I'm gonna say 5 out of 5 because everything looks as good as it's gonna get with this photo. When it comes to the composition, I like the angel woman is in the middle. It's strange in the middle, but this one looks good because of the fountain. It's not really a stock image because there's too much going on and it's got a concept, but I do like that she is in the middle. In this case, 5 out of 5 in the composition because everything looks awesome. When it comes to the edit, well, today we could do a lot more. Remember, this photo is very old and there's power lines that we could remove. There's some of those distracting elements. When it comes to the edit, the blue is a little bit, the color temperature doesn't match the model to the background. If she was a little bit bluer or the background was a little bit warmer, it would make it 5 out of 5. So I'm gonna say 4 out of 5 when it comes to the edit. And then talking about the commercial value, well, it's a concept. A topless woman holding a newspaper, that might sell. I'm gonna say 3 out of 5 because it's very specific to the location. But you do have a concept with the let's call it a homeless man laying here in the ground on the fountain. So I'm gonna say 4 out of 5 when it comes to the commercial value. It looks good. You did a great job with the edits. Let's move on to the next. So that is a bike. All right, let's look at the camera settings. ISO 400, 1/160th of a second, 5.6 of aperture. It is with a 180 millimeter lens. So 1/60th of a second, if you're hand holding, that's probably the limit on this lens. It's very tough when you're zoomed out to hold steady when you're zooming in. So that's good. I'm gonna say 4 out of 5. If you had a tripod, it would help. You could drop the ISO and drop the speed. But the rest looks very good. It's 5.6 because you're zoomed out, and that's the widest aperture you can get with this lens. So when you're doing a photo shoot, if you could get a tripod, it would help. But in this case, you're doing fine. 4 out of 5 is a good score. When it comes to composition, I like that the pillars here are framing the shot. It looks good. I'm gonna say 5 out of 5 in the composition. When it comes to the edit, it looks fine. Again, it's a small file, so I really can't tell what needs fixing, but the colors look natural. The bokeh looks good. The frame here looks pretty good. There's no fringing. It looks like you took the colors out, and it looks very good. So 5 out of 5 in the edit. And when it comes to commercial value, I'm gonna put it way low. 2 out of 5 because there's really not much of a concept. The image is great. The image looks beautiful. It's very artistic, kind of showing what's happening. The bike is tied to the pillars, but there's not enough information to make it a stock image. So the commercial value is a little bit low, 2 out of 5, but that was a very good shot. Okay. All right, guys, that was the last photo of the day. Thank you very much for sending these images for the critique. I think a lot of people are learning more, and I think everybody likes the star rating system. I think it helps me go a little bit more in depth and give you more information about what I'm trying to critique here. It's very important to know not only if your photo is going to be good for stock, but if it's going to be good as a standalone image. And I think this is helping a lot of people. So if this is helping, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button. And if you want to learn a little bit more about commercial value and how to find it and everything, stay tuned. I'm working on a video. It might be a couple of weeks before I release it. And that's why I'm out here in the woods. I'm capturing things and getting ideas as to how I'm going to find this value and everyday things. So again, thank you very much for watching. Like, subscribe, and everything I said before, and we will see you next week. Bye.